Going live. What's going on? What's going on, Serious Crew? We're back at it again in one of these infamous whatchamacallits. We're back at it again, trying to break the stigma. We're gonna do a nice little twist on a different topic that my wife, hello Jimmy, say hello, feel very, very, very passionate about with both our veterans. My wife is still currently serving, so we're gonna take the veteran approach to it. I am her caregiver, and I connected her at a veteran level. We have served in the same United States Army. We have served in the same United States Army unit. We were both part of the same aviation unit, and we're kind of give you a little insight of what we go through and how we handle our current situations. But before that, before we get that started, I'm going to go ahead and play a video real fast. Give me just a second to share my screen. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for that raid, and I hope all the streams have been going wonderfully and everybody's been able to get their message, their experience, and their stories out. And thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories and your experiences with Team Serious, United Vindication, Club Kiwi, Rage Zone, and Galaxy Hound. Nice little informational speech. As always, I like to get the conversation started to break in the stigma. Thank you, everybody in attendance right now. Thank you, everybody that's told their story, told their experience. You matter. You are enough, and you are loved, and you are definitely make this world a better place while you being in it. If you ever need anyone to talk to, you can reach out to anybody from Team Serious, from UV, from Club Kiwi, from Rage Zone, and from Galaxy Hound. With open arms, we will welcome you, listen to your story, and then point you to the resources that you may need to help you out and get you out of the bottom of the barrel or in that hole you dug yourself into. But don't ever feel alone, or hopefully nobody will ever feel alone with all these wonderful communities that you have. You have an avenue, even if it's just a rant session, even if it's just a bitch session, even if it's just, getting you to just talk to us. I appreciate all of you today. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is, and it might get a little heavy here a little bit. My wife and I both served in the United States Army, and there's a lot of stigmas associated with what we do, where we've reversed our role. I went ahead and ETS'd out after my 8 years total commitment. I did not reenlist, did not want to reenlist, and I let her do whatever she wanted. We're going on to 15 years now because we served around the same time frame. One of the biggest things that I always tell everybody is one of the hardest things to do was to send my wife to war. One of the worst things that I could ever done is after our baby was born at 4 months to the day, I had to put her on a plane and ship her off to Operation Iraqi Freedom, sorry, OIF. And that was the hardest thing to do, because I always tell people that when my wife came back and she didn't notice it right away, I always tell her that I lost her in Iraq. I lost a part of her and the way she was and the joy that she had, and the happiness and the brightness that she had in her eyes, because war will do those things to you. So when she came back, there was a daily struggle that we had to fight, because you go from doing it every day, living, breathing, being in uniform, the mannerisms, the culture, the lifestyle, because you are once you don your uniform, you are that person. And once you take it off, you try to disconnect and be a quote unquote civilian, but it never leaves you. And our time in our life when we got off of active duty, when we finally said that's enough, we need to get off of active duty, we came into the reserves. We ended up going to the same aviation unit. We both went back to school. There was a really hard time in our life where my wife was at her lowest. And it came to the point where even me as a veteran, me and seeing my battle buddies go through the same, seeing how low they've gone in their life, how they always felt alone. I said, you're never alone. You have never been alone. I've been with you the whole time. I finally had to pick her up and say, you're scaring me. And if you don't seek help, then I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving, and I won't come back until you have gotten help. And even for me, that was one of the hardest times of my life too, because I was trying to, everybody's trying to get it together. Everybody's trying to hold off. I don't know what the hell I was doing. They give you classes. They can't prepare you for this coming out. I don't care what kind of transition they have. It's like hitting a brick wall when you come out. They give us tools to say, this is how you write your resume. I already knew how to write my resume. When I went into the service, I was already in college. The problem is that during the time that I had to join, where we both had to join, the economy had tanked in the United States. I had lost both of my jobs due to the economy. The housing market crashed. The car industry crashed. So I had nowhere to turn. So I said, I don't want to live like this anymore. I was in the middle of college, in the middle of my IT degree. And I said, let me go to the recruiting station. In 2 weeks to the day, I was out and shipped to basic training. My wife went ahead of me. One of the reasons why, little insider there, one of the reasons why we had to get married, because we already had kids and she wanted to serve. And it was an appropriate time to not only get married, and we were in our 20s. I was 21 when I joined service. And we left, and all the rest is history. But coming back was the hardest part of everything. They don't give you those tools to say, how do you come back? Because everybody acts differently. And going to the wizard wasn't a choice. Going to the wizard, we rather dig in deep and keep it inside because we don't want to get kicked out. That was the last thing we wanted to do, is tell the military about our issues so they can section us out as crazy and kick us out and say, thank you for your time, but now you're useless to us. And that was one of the hardest things, one of the reasons why my wife didn't seek help and took so much time getting that help. But that day, and I remember it crisp as day, I picked her up and I put her in the bath and I scrubbed her and I washed her, and I said, I need you to get help because you're scaring me. And while we connect and while I understand your battle, I can't help you like that. And I listened and we talked, And we talked and we talked, and she told me everything that she went through, and I understood to a certain extent, but I said, I'm not a medical professional, but it has to start with you. So when I tell you that I'm here to listen, I will be here to listen. But at the end of the day, I'm not a medical professional. I can't say, hey, take this pill, or do this specific exercise, or jump up and do this and do that, because I'm not trained that way. But I will be a lending ear, and then I will help you, guide you to the assistance that you'll need.
So one of the things that we wanted to do today was, I guess, kind of show you two different point of views to the same story. Because we definitely, I mean, our life, our story is together, but it's definitely two different sides. And I would definitely like to say that my poor husband, he definitely got an interestingly bruised apple when he picked out of the barrel. I was definitely a lot different before. I guess you could say I was a bit of a social butterfly once. I like to have friends everywhere, and I didn't like to judge anyone. I thought everybody deserved somebody who cared about them. And I still believe that. I'm just a little more careful now. When we met, though, I was already just a little bit broken, maybe a little smushed, maybe not broken. And then we got pregnant with our first son, and I was like, oops, you're stuck with me. I don't know what to tell you. And then we got pregnant with our second son, and it was hard, and I'm stubborn, and I wanted to make it on our own. And there was a very important moment when I was very pregnant with our second son. And I was looking at our first son. He was away working, and I was by myself. And we were doing our best to make it on our own. But we just couldn't all the time. I wasn't working, only he was working, and it wasn't the greatest job. And our bills were paid, but we had very little money for food and very little money for necessities. Back in the day, people did cloth diapers because they needed to, not because it was cool. And that's what I had to learn how to do because we had no money. And I was too proud to ask for help from the government, from my parents, because my mother would hold it over my head forever because she's Catholic and Mexican, so God forbid. So I remember the exact moment that I decided to join the Army. Our son, there was no more diapers, and I was having to learn how to cloth diaper, and he wasn't feeling good, and he just kept going through towels, and I just kept washing him. I couldn't dry him fast enough, and it hurt in my heart to look at him and feel like I had nothing to offer. So I called him and I said, I'm popping out your second kid and I'm joining the Army. And he was like, huh? I feel like I missed something. He's like, we'll talk about it when I get home tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And I popped out his kid, boy number 2. And as soon as the doctor told me I was okay to start working out, I was running 8 miles a day to try to get ready because I had 2 children back to back and a lot of weight to lose. Well, it seemed like a lot of weight at the time. And a few days after our son, or right before our son turned 6 months old, I left for basic training. And well, I sliced him out, not really popped. I saw a comment. But I went to basic training. I went to AIT. I chose to become a truck driver because 1, it had a bonus, which I completely understood. 3 years, almost $20,000. I was probably going to get shot or blown up. But we were young and we needed the money, and I was insured, and I was like, F it, let's do this. So I chose to become a truck driver. It was hard. I missed my children dearly every single day. And my mother told me that I was a piece of shit for joining the day I told her, because she's like, and what about your children? Who's going to watch your children? And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that the sperm donation came with a person called their father. And I'll never forget it. She told me if I left, I'd be the worst mother in the entire world, because I would be leaving my children. Mind you, my mother was a police officer and also left for the Navy when I was quite young. So I felt all kinds of ways about that, but that's a different story for another time. Let me keep going. So went to basic, went to AIT, saw him for a whole 5 seconds before he went to basic training. And we had another kid. And it was all a blur, really, because training, bullshit. It was hard because no one ever believed that I was the service member. I don't know what it is about my face, guys. Is it because I have chunky cheeks? Is it the eyes? I don't know what it is, but I don't look like a service member, apparently. Because every time I have to prove that I'm the one that puts on the uniform, and I was like, look, sons of bitches, just because I'm not tall doesn't mean I can't get mean. Darn it. I wear the green, I can be mean. I digress.
Very mean.
I can be, no? Oh, okay. I'll just drink some more wine. Anyway, so we were pregnant with our third child right before my deployment. And I knew that I was going to deploy after I found out I was pregnant with her. And it was hard to accept the fact that I was about to leave my brand new baby, and I did. The day she turned 4 months, I was on a plane to Iraq, the lovely vacation spot that everyone should never go to. I'm just kidding. It's actually, before war, it was beautiful. After war, it's been, yay. It was hard for a lot of reasons. When I was in Iraq, he was in Korea. Being a female in a mostly male job within a mostly male field, having children, being married and never getting to see my husband, feeling completely alone. War was hard. Shit happened. People died. Coming home was hard because I didn't know how to reconcile who I was and who I'd become, or was trying to become. I'm never really sure, to be honest. There are things that now, after many years of therapy, I understand a little bit better. And I believe that the person that I was when I was younger and the things that happened to me helped me to be a better person for what I had to go through. I know how to put my emotions in a little box, put it into a box that's on the wall. So it's the way my therapist explained it to me. There's a wall, and you have all these shelvings, and you have these little boxes, and you compartmentalize those emotions and those personalities in order to get through what you need to get through. And I've had to learn how to do that without realizing that that was what I was learning how to do. And now that I know what it is, it helps me to better maintain, I guess, the emotional stress that comes with it. Because when I have to be mommy, I'm mommy. When I have to be soldier, I'm soldier. When I have to be wife, I hand it off to Natsu and walk away and go get a beer. I'm just kidding. I can be wife. But it's not without its difficulty at all. And I'm being a military person and then a military spouse was difficult all on its own. And I know that he had a different experience than I did on his side because, he's a man. We can't all have penises all day. walking around with them just hanging out in our pants. Some of us have to, mentally grow them. I know I embarrass him. It's great. But it's definitely a different perspective for me because it's still my life. I still live it every single day. I still have to don my uniform and try to suck it in for height and weight. And I still have to do it. And, there's a lot of stigma about the fact that I'm a girl and my husband stays home with the kids. I actually had somebody tell me, well, if you're deployed, where are your kids going to go? And I was like, well, I was just thinking about locking them in the closet, leaving them enough food and water, and then just come back for them. And she looked at me because she thought I was like serious. And I was like, no, bitch, I'm married. They have a father. Guess what? All the same dad too. What? She just looked at me like I lost my mind. But it was just like, I didn't know what she expected me to say. Like, I have no idea. And I know that like a lot of the times flap. Yeah. No flap. They don't. You have to borrow them. They get issued sometimes. No, I know that NotSo's had to deal with it. Like when he was working in an office and he'd have to go pick up one of the kids from a doctor's appointment or from school or something, they actually asked him one time, well, where's your wife? And he said, first of all, that's none of your business. Second of all, just to make you feel like an asshole, she's serving our country. You're welcome. And walked out. I remember him telling me that story and it made me sad. But it also made me feel very proud because he's sassy just like me. So it was wonderful. But, it's not the only experience I've ever had where stuff like that has come up. And it's made me feel like my service made me a bad mom. Or that I shouldn't have been the one that was considered the service member. Like, the one time I tried to join the VFW, you remember that? So when I first got out of active duty.
Oh boy, we ready for this? Wait, we ain't even 30 minutes in. You ready for that one already?
Oh yeah, I'm ready for that one. Wait, hold on one more. Okay, so what happened was, I just gotten out of active duty. We'd moved back home. And I thought everybody kept saying that joining the VFW was really good because there was other veterans and they understood how you felt and you can get a lot of help. And I was like, cool, I want to belong somewhere. Why not? So I called the local VFW and this gentleman answered and I was like, hi, I just wanted to make an inquiry about membership. What would I need to do? What kind of documents would I need? What would I have to do? And this guy goes, oh, you want to join? Okay, cool. Give me a second. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I wait for a little bit. And then this lady comes on and she starts talking to me. And she's like, okay, so you want to join the auxiliary group? And I was like, no.
Boy.
And for those of you who don't know, the auxiliary group it's usually the spouse that never served joined so that they can support the VFW. So what that used to mean was it was an all ladies thing. Now spouses come in all shapes and forms, right? So if you have a spouse that even served with you, but never deployed anywhere, never went to war, then they can join the auxiliary group.
I like how you calm and collective right now, because that's not what you were telling that person on the other side of the phone.
Can I finish my story before I break down? Thank you. I'd like to get to the end before I lose my goddamn mind. Thank you. Ugh, so rude. You see how he do me? Ugh. Anyways, back to the story. So if you don't know, that's what the auxiliary group is for. It's basically spouses, they never served. So that's their way of giving back to the veteran community and to the community that they once belonged to, active duty times. So I was like, nope, I'm the veteran. I want to join the VFW as a veteran. I served on active duty. I have been to war. I would like to get a membership. And we went through the whole spill. I did get a membership. I never, ever once, the entire time, I think I still pay that damn membership. And I've never once been to that VFW. Ever. Because it hurt. And I know that it seems silly. It's probably really silly. Because I don't have to prove who I am to anyone. And yet, that little itty bitty, they probably don't even think about it, thing hurts to a degree that I don't know how to explain. It somehow makes me feel like I'm less of a soldier, like I'm less of a person. Yes, I have a Sam's membership, Dave. Shut up. But it makes me feel less because anytime I go somewhere and it's a veteran service or a soldier service, it's who's your sponsor? Myself. What's your husband's social? Nope, it's mine. Oh, thank your husband for your service. Anytime they see my plates. I mean, what's wrong with me? Why don't I look like a veteran?
And on the flip side of that, just in spite, I ordered some veteran plates that were the female ones saluting, and I drove that SUV on purpose. And then people were like, "Oh, thank you for your service." It's like, did you actually look at the plate? And they looked at it again, and they're like, "You can thank my wife for her service." They don't have to know that I served too. That wasn't the whole point. Is that the whole point that it's always a male that serves, also annoyed. Not, but she's not. She's on the same page as the rest of her. Your battle buddies. If they're a female, they get the same thing if they're married or even if they're single. Tell your husband or your boyfriend, "Thank you for your service." Like, bitch, I'm the one serving.
I mean, sometimes I feel ridiculous about it because it's such a small thing. Like, I don't care about anyone knowing I'm in the service. I mean, I have friends that may just have now found out I'm in the service. Hi guys. My bad. Most people don't even know I'm married to NotSo, for God's sakes. We've been together for 20 years, so I'm
for
good
the
at
longest
secrets.
you were for the longest you were a myth.
Oh yeah, I
Apparently
didn't
made you
exist.
up.
Oh yeah, Kiwi. That is a definitely something I have heard. Like, is it, or are those your dads? Or they always have to find a reason to correct us. You could be doing everything perfect, and it doesn't matter if you do everything fantastically. They will, because your very existence just seems to bother them. It's like, don't be mad that my metaphorical penis is bigger than yours. I don't know what to tell you. It hangs low and I got big balls too. You're welcome.
Oh boy.
I'm just saying, don't be mad because my shit's thick. All right? It's what it is. I digress. Flap, you're married. No, you can't have him, Flap. He's mine. I married him. Oh, I'm sorry, Kiwi. You right. I got big ovaries. I also have boobs. Does that count? No? No? Okay, I'm sorry. He's uncomfortable.
I'm not uncomfortable. I just laugh. Anyways. So kind of tying it all back together, we kind of went on a different segment there for the what we're originally talking about is you went, you deployed, you did your thing, you came back, we got out of active duty, we went through the transitional period where they try to prepare you for X thing that doesn't really help.
Hold on. Tomb, don't make me cut you. I will cut you. He's mine. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you done? Or do you need a... Okay, cool.
Cut
so
you.
then we fast forward to where we transition back into civilian life. We get civilian jobs, start going back to school and things like that. And then you hit a low point.
I did. So he's so rude. We about to fight. Anyway, being back in the States, being off of active duty was a culture shock that I was definitely not prepared for. Everybody talked about it. Everybody kind of expressed it, but I didn't truly understand it until I was in it. And then I thought, well, maybe the transition can be made easier by going from active duty to the reserves. I hit hiccups already. I'm sorry. I'll still be serving, but it'll be like, like a part-time job in high school, right? Go back to college, have a part-time job in the Army. Fantastic. And it definitely didn't go that way. The reserves alone was a culture shock. Going back into civilian status was a culture shock. Getting my first job at a bank. I drove trucks, cleaned trucks, talked about dicks all day. And then I went to a banking job. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, they hired me, so I was excited. I was hired. I was getting paid, I think at the time it was like $10.25 an hour. And I thought it was so much money because before active duty, I didn't make more than like $7.25 an hour. So I was like, oh my God, I'm making money. I'm going to be a billionaire. I thought it was fantastic. I was so happy. I'm easily amused, people, if you hadn't realized that about me, okay? I'm easily amused. So I was ecstatic. I had my first job. I was going to do great things. I hated everything. Working with civilians isn't bad. It's just the things that I cared about before I joined the Army no longer mattered to me in a way that I didn't expect. I think I became a better parent because when I was gone, which is a lot, I'll admit, all I did was miss my kids. And when I came home, I appreciated them in a way that I don't even know how to describe in words. When I'm with my children, there is no greater peace in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. And I just look at them in a way that I didn't know I could look at anyone. I didn't know I could love anything as much as I love my children. And when I am with them, I am with them. They know mommy may get everything else wrong in the world. I can't always cook right. I drink sometimes too much, not always. Don't drink your problems away, people. Get help. The one thing my kids know is that when I look at them, I see them and I love them. And there is nothing in the world that they could ever do or say that would make me love them less. I will cut bitches for my kids. I mean, I'd cut bitches for people I love, but I mean, I would obliterate their entire life before I cut them for my children. I love them. And I think it makes me a better parent because I really listen. Yeah, I get frustrated. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Having a 5-year-old jump on you the minute you walk in the door. Weren't you on a podcast the other day when I came home?
The veterans one. They can hear Sophia losing her mind because you walked in.
I've been gone. I was TDY, as I always often am. And I'd been gone for a few days. And I walked in the door and she screamed, "Mommy." And I was just so happy. And all my munchkins got up from what they were doing and came to see me and gave me kisses. And, our oldest is about to be 17. And even he was like, "Mommy's home." And I was excited. But that's what mattered to me after my deployment, after my time. Like, what mattered to me changed. I don't give a shit about the car I drive. I don't care how ugly our house is or how beautiful it is. I don't care about anything else. All I want to do is be with them. And so when I listen to people and the things that they complain about, like college, I remember, I had to do a lab. And there was this kid. And she annoyed me. Just her face annoyed me. She would cry about the stupidest shit. Like, she's like, "My mom caught me smoking pot." I'm like, "Is pot legal?" She goes, "No." And I go, "Do you have a card that says that you're allowed to smoke pot?" And she goes, "No." And I go, "Then shut the fuck up." Who the fuck cares? Like, you're mad because your mom doesn't want to pay for you to smoke weed all day. Like, I don't understand how we're in the same class or how we're the same level, because this is just, it's stupid. She was mad because she ran a red light. She got a ticket. Her mom didn't want her to pay the ticket. She had to get a job so she could pay the ticket because she was wrong. And I was all like, dude, Like, I know that for whatever reason, because I'm old, I don't know, you think I want to hear this, so I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. Fuck yourself so hard that you can fuck yourself in the next week. Because I'm tired of hearing your voice, and it literally gives me a migraine hearing you talk. And she was like, you're supposed to be nice. And I go, why? Because I have a vagina? Fuck that shit. Get out of my face. I don't want a new partner. You know what? F it. I will be my own partner. And I literally took my stuff. I dragged the table and sat it outside the classroom and finished my work from there because I was over her. I was over her. Because she was mad because she created her own mess and she was mad nobody else wanted to clean it up. That was a real thing that happened to me. I quit college like 4 times because of stuff like that. I mean, I go back. I'm not done yet. But I did. I was worried that I was going to miss my kid's birthday. She's worried that she's not going to pay the ticket and no one else wants to pay it and she didn't want to get a job to pay her own ticket. We're not the same peoples. And then I would get angry because of little things like that. I remember one time I was at the bank and there was this older lady who used to come in every couple of weeks and she would bring only coins. And one of the other tellers was like, I don't want to deal with her today. Can you deal with her? And I just looked at her and I was like, okay, cool. Let me see what's up. I was in the drive-thru that day, but I'd never had to deal with her personally as a teller because I never got the chance. I never got her as one of my clients. So this is my first time. I'd always seen her. I'd always say hello to her, ask her if she needed anything, but I never really got to deal with her. So it was my first time and I was kind of excited because she had these badass Vans on her feet. And I was like, she got grandkids. And her grandkids are dope. And so I go out there. I mean, and she's got like a Ziploc gallon bag of coins. And she's sitting there and she's putting them in packages in the lobby of the bank. And so I'm like, cool, I'll go help her. I'll see what's up. So I go and I'm like, do you need help? And her kid is freaking out. Her daughter's all like, ugh, mom, you should have done this before we got here. And I don't know why you always do these things. And I'm super busy. And I look at her kid, who's older than me, by the way. And I was like, you know what? I got her. Do you want to go run your errands? I will help her roll these up. It's not a big deal. We're slow today. It's a slow day. And she was all like, mom, are you going to be okay? And her mom's all like, whatever. So she's like, all right, I'll be right back. So she leaves. And so me and this old lady start kicking it, rolling quarters and shit. And she's got the dopest stories, man. She's just telling me how she used to be a ranch hand and she used to do all these crazy things because it's Texas. Of course, she was on a ranch somewhere. And she's just telling me these amazing stories. And I realize her kid's missing it. Because she was an old lady when I met her, and that was many years ago, over a decade. And so I'm pretty sure please, dear God, let her be alive, but if she isn't, that was a great moment for me that I got to share with her. I mean, I spent a good 40 minutes rolling quarters, but it was a good time. And I don't think I would have noticed that moment before my service. After my service, that moment was really important. It still sits with me. It sits with me because I got to watch this old lady who just wanted some interaction. And she let me interact with her. And that meant a lot to me. I mean, it was probably like 40 minutes and she probably didn't remember me, but it meant a lot to me. And it made me change my whole perspective on moments in general. And that made me angry because we're so busy just rushing our lives and doing craziness and wanting more and pushing harder and working more to make more money, to work more to make more money, because that's all that cycle does. What are you going to do? Take it with you? You can't take it with you. And it made me angry because not a lot of people saw that moment. And I didn't know how to express that. I didn't know how to feel about that. It just made me angrier and angrier. And I'm the kind of person, I'm really, really bad at it. When I'm upset, I go inside. I close the door, I lock it away. And I hide myself because no one wants to hear that I had a really bad day that day. No one wants to be burdened with what a shitty person I think I am, how I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like when I come home and I see my husband washing dishes, how it makes me feel like I'm not a good wife. Or how when I know I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm gone until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, that I'm a bad mom. No one wants to hear that. And so I didn't learn how to express it. I didn't learn how to feel it. I didn't learn how to not place blame. And you keep adding those things to your backpack. Your backpack's going to get so heavy you can't carry it no more. And then you're sitting in the corner sprawled out somewhere because you can't hike no more because you've been doing it for 15 kilometers. And you're like, look, I was old, I fat, I tired. I can't do it no more. And that's when the depression started setting in. I didn't even know that's what you called it. When I lost interest in, I didn't even want to take a shower. I was getting to the point where all I was doing was getting up just enough to not get locked away. I was showering when I knew I had to because I had to go to work or I had to go to drill.
Or a doctor's appointment.
Because, if you go to a VA appointment, you look at crazy, they're going to ask extra questions. And I wasn't trying to be unserviceable. So I brushed my hair on those days. He always knew when I had a VA appointment because the shower was the first key. Brushing my hair was the second one because otherwise I'd just throw it in a bun. Nobody notices the difference. I have curly hair. They just think it's curls, which is a sad and true realization. But I was taking care of myself just enough to pass the test, just enough to ace to get an acceptable grade. I was doing just enough to not get my kids taken away, to not be put away. Just enough. But I wasn't living. I was surviving. I was doing the bare minimum to be considered a living human being. And I was miserable. And I didn't even know it. And then the dark thoughts started to set in.
The nightmares, the sweating.
I wasn't sleeping because when I'd close my eyes, I would be back there. I wasn't eating right because I would only eat enough so that I could drink and not be too messed up. I was only drinking enough water so that I could be hydrated and wouldn't get a hangover. I was missing so many things because the closet was my friend. I make a lot of jokes about the closet and drinking in there, but he has caught me passed out in the closet, drunk as a skunk and asleep because that's where I feel safe. Which actually stems from a very hilarious story from Iraq, which may or may not one day be told to you guys. I don't know yet. But it's kind of messed up. It's kind of messed up because my trauma is part of my life, which is part of my happy memories, which is also part of my bad memories. So there's this mixed up feeling that this is normal and it's okay. And it is and it isn't. Because all those things happened to me. And then there was this after effect I didn't know how to deal with. So when he told me, look, bitch, if you don't get help, I'm going to leave you. He didn't say bitch. I said that. Just clarify. He would get cut. But he threw me in the shower. He told me, look, I need you to get your life together because I love you to pieces, but I'm not going to put our kids through this. That's when I realized, okay, all right, fine. I'll go see a therapist. The first, I think, like 4 times I went to go see her, it was an hour of me and her just staring at each other. And she's like, why are you here? And I was like, my husband said I had to come and we were getting a divorce. And she's like, so are you seeking help? I was like, I'm seeking not to get divorced. So I just stared at her and she would stare at me And then about the second month in, then I was like, all right, fine. If we're going to be together, let's chat. What do you like? She's like, that's not how this works. And I was like, this is how this is working, damn it. You tell me about you, and then I'll think about whether or not you deserve to know anything about me. And she's like, fine, I like cats. And she was great.
She's more than great.
She taught me a lot of skills that I said it the other day. I think it was in the ladies podcast. She taught me my very first assignment she gave me was a very powerful one that to this day I still have trouble saying it. Accepting your value as a person is hard, especially when you've been told your whole life that you don't have any value, that you're less. But picking up those tools, picking up those skills to be able to combat the pain and the anger and the confusion and the feelings and the voices. Oh man, my voice has an accent. It's mean. Says things to me I don't understand sometimes in languages I'm not sure are real. But it's a very sharp dresser, so I forgive it sometimes. The outfits are always on point. But it's hard because it's every day. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's every single day. Mental health is health. It's like doing a PMCS. You got to do preventative care, preventative maintenance on yourself, on your family, on your everyday life. Do check-ins. Ask yourself, self, are we having a good day? Well, self, you're drinking straight from the bottle. How do you think we're doing today?
Wonderful. Oh,
absolutely, because it's actually a very good brand of wine. Very good brand of wine. I had a bottle yesterday, finishing up today. How you doing? But I make jokes about it because that's my defense mechanism. Laughing is so much easier for me than crying. Sometimes I make myself laugh so hard I can cry. That's how it started. And then sometimes once the tears start, the flood happens and the dam is broken, there's nothing I can do about it. So might as well get some vino and cry it out, right? But it took a lot. And it still takes something every single day. Every single day, I look in the mirror and I do that very first lesson that she taught me. And sometimes it's hard to come up with 4 things I like about myself. I mean, I'm starting to like my hair. I'm doing my hair journey. So that's number 1. I sometimes like my hair. Like this morning, I said to myself, I sometimes like my hair. Today is a good complexion day. I'm glad that I'm alive, which isn't always the case. And I told myself that I'm glad I have a really good family and really good friends. And it took me 15 minutes to tell myself that I can do this. I'm an adult. I'm enough. And it hurt. It hurts every single day to remind myself that. Because I know that even though I have anxiety, even though I have depression, even though I have PTSD, I can't kill myself. I can't stop. Because as I like to say, funerals are for the living. Because they're the ones that have to bury us. We're gone. And I would never want to leave my husband and my kids and my family with the pain of me making a final decision for them. I could never I could never give a final decision for a temporary pain. So I take my medicine and I go to my therapies. And I use my tools. And maybe I don't feel like I'm worth it every day. But I know that they are. So I do my best to become the person that I think is worth it for them. Like I said, it's a fight every single day. Maybe one day I will look in the mirror and be able to name them off like a song and say it without pain in my heart.
We'll make a beat for it too.
I would appreciate that. But it's a fight every day. And it's one I'm not ready to give up on. So I'm going to stop talking. You say something.
Something. I have accomplished your task.
Smart ass.
It's like we kept saying on the flip side. I work full time. I work from home. So even after this COVID thing is over with, I'm blessed that I have a career that is just automating tasks using computers and servers, code, scripting. But I still have to maintain the household with my kids. And I obviously taught them the skills that my wife and I both feel strongly everybody should know. Everybody should know how to mop. Everybody should know how to sweep. Everybody should know how to do the dishes. Everybody should know how to do their own laundry. Everybody should know how to iron, how to sew, these basic life skills, because everything else school will teach you to an extent. I don't know if now they're gotten better with, getting classes that matter, like balancing your checkbook, like how to pay bills, like things of that sort.
I'm working on it. Don't be talking shit.
But at the end of the day, I have my wife. I have her 6. And I tell her all the time, because she's gone a lot. That's why a lot of people didn't think I was married. I don't know why. I tell people all the time, no sane dude, no freaking sane ass man will make up a wife and kids.
Nobody said you were sane.
Chill. But every time that we were like, she was supposed to meet all the people at QuakeCon, and we had already bought all the tickets and everything. And then boom, she got slapped with some orders. She needed to go on active and take care of some business. And then she's gone. But it felt like every time I try to hang out with the people, especially that live in Texas, that were down the street from us, something would come up. And even that today's still the same thing. She wasn't supposed to be gone this week, but she knows too damn much. She's been around the Army for so long that
I would never say I know too much. I am just a simple
shut your
person.
mouth. You know what I'm talking about. You got NCOs that don't know shit. Anyways, they call her. She's the go-to. Go handle this business. Go travel south 3.5 hours. This unit down there needs help. They need this. They need that. And they call her, and she just tells me, "Hey, by the way, I'm leaving tomorrow." Got it. She knows she doesn't have to worry. Go handle business. I'll be here when you get back. I don't even call her to bug her about anything unless she asks, she texts or she calls me and says, "Hey, how are the kids?" Or, "Hey, how are you doing?" Or I'll check on her, but I don't even bug her. Like until she calls me or she texts me, I won't bug her because I want her to focus on what she's there for. I want her to focus on her mission. And as soon as she calls me, I drop everything I'm doing. We'll sit there and chat. We'll text, but I'm also not like honored all the time. Like, what are you doing? How, la, 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 la. I'm trying to get her to not have that stress added on top of her mission. And she knows it, and everybody preaches about it all the time. I was like, your husband don't even bug you. We're out here having drinks at the bar, and nobody knows where your husband's at, or whatever to the fact. And their husbands are all like in their asses.
Every time they tell me I ain't shit.
Does your husband care? I'm like, life is too short for some bullshit. Life is too short for bullshit. You know better than I know. One day you're here, the next day you'd be gone. And I don't got time for that.
Oh, by the way, I might be gone next week.
Surprise. Dun, dun, dun. So that is kind of a little insight on our story. I know she wasn't able to go into detail of the podcast, but we kind of went a little more detail. We just barely skimmed the surface, even on this conversation. A lot of the times we always get asked, the same thing we could relate to Sage that one time where they're like, oh, you're Natsu's wife or whatever, that same feeling that she was talking about on one of those podcasts.
I am real. I promise. I'm a person. I have a social securities number. I promise. I'm real. No? No one believes me? Oh, okay. I'll leave.
But on the day, that's kind of the reason why I went back to streaming when I did and why I've streamed for so long, because most of the time she will be gone. And I'm all a proponent about finding positive things to do and staying busy, and things like that. I'll learn a whole new scripting language. I'll learn a whole new development language, or take a training class here and there. I remain my time positive. You are what you consume, so why not make it positive content? Why not make it positive information? We'll sit here and with my kids, we'll tear down a whole computer. Sophia our youngest loves to mess around with tools, and we'll go and we'll let her use like the screwdriver, let her use the pliers or whatever. We'll go mess and make things. And she likes doing all that stuff. So we stay preoccupied when she's gone. But you got to remain positive, because just as bad as that experience of her always leaving, it could have been bad. We could have had worse problems. It could have been way negative. But we remain positive, because I do support her career. I do support her. And I do think she matters, and I do think she's more than enough, and I do love her. And she knows it, because I'm a type of person that shows by action. I'm not a big talker. I've been talking on these podcasts because freaking Tomb signed me up for everything. He's like, oh, we need you here. And I was like, okay, people are going to get tired of me talking, but okay, cool. I'm not a big talker. Now, granted that now that people know me, they say otherwise. But when you don't know me, like at work, when certain people don't know me, it's like, he doesn't really talk. It's like, I don't really fucking have anything to say. And that type of dude, if I don't have anything to say, I won't say shit.
I'm the same way. I mean, I know it seems like I'm real social, but I'm not. But when I do feel really strongly about something, then I've got plenty to say, and life in general is hard, guys. Life by itself, just being born, you're like, man, I'm already being taxed and I haven't even, gotten out the womb yet. And that's a thing. It's real. And then when you add another person to your life, it gets stressful. When you add all the mental health stuff, it gets even more stressful. Then you add kids and you add jobs, and it's just stress and stress and stress. And the important thing about mental health is that it's just like going to see the doctor if you get your knee scraped or if you got to have surgery. Sometimes you need a safe space to say, I'm not okay. You're passionate about tons of things. I mean, don't be judging me. It's really important, I thought, when we started this one, to talk about the differences in how it goes, because he has his own set of mental health issues. Something that I know that he talked a little bit about on the podcast earlier was the Bell's palsy that he suffered from. And I didn't get to hear all of it because I was chasing our 5-year-old. But did you tell them what the last factor of you get right before you got the Bell's palsy?
No.
All right, guys, I'm going to share.
Are you sure? Because we're a minute over. I got to go to Matt.
Oh. Then I guess I'm not
cliffhanger.
I guess I'll have to wait. Let's just say something happened and I was his last straw and he had Bell's palsy. So it's really important when you have spouses, when you have caregivers, when you have stress, mental health stuff, that you talk about it, you get help. We have talked all weekend about places you can go, people you can talk to. You could talk to any of us. You could talk to all of us. We could group chat if you want. I mean, there's a million ways, especially now, today's days, for us to get out there and talk to one another and to help break the stigma and to to be there together, because that's really what it's about, is making sure we're okay, staying healthy together, making good memories, and just trying to live good lives. Enjoy those little moments. All right,
With
I'm
that
done.
being said, this will be an audio only podcast. You'll be able to find it at teamserious.dfw.com/podcast. Thank you so much for everything everybody does. Thank you so much for your support. We're going to go raid you over to Mattzilla, one of my brothers. I love this man to death. He calls me almost every other day to check up on me because he knows a lot about me, and I love this man to death. Y'all go show him some love. He used to run his own organization based on mental health. Just go show that man some love. I love that guy to death. We will see you next time.